Hello, Internet. My name is Chamomile.
Welcome to
Chamomile,
Alliance Military.
true daughter of old time thou art, who
Classified
alterest all things with thy peering eyes. Why preyest thou upon the poet's heart, vulture, whose wings are dull realities? How should he love thee, or deem thee wise, who wouldst not leave him in his wandering, to seek for treasure in the jeweled skies, albeit he soared with an undaunted wing? Hast thou not dragged Diana from her car, and driven the Hamadryad from the wood, to seek a shelter in some happier star? Hast thou not torn the Naiad from her flood, the elfin from the green grass, and from me, the summer dream beneath the tamarind tree?
That's a long name. I don't remember you having a name that long.
Warning, data corruption detected.
It's a little bit loud. Let me turn it down.
Profile. Confirm pre-service history.
So we're playing Mass Effect.
We are.
Which is why I went with a poem about science. We're probably going to be talking about science fiction.
I only vaguely remember what these even are. I don't think they have any significant impact on either the story or any impact at all on stats. So,
I think they like...
Psychological profile.
I'm just going for maximum
You get
space.
you get like occasional references and dialogue to your backstory.
Military specialization.
Alright, so for classes, you know, we've got shooter guy, like standard FPS protagonist. You know, the turbo nerd, the wizard. Alright, you know, here we've got like a sort of a Batman deal. A double extra turbo nerd. And then there's Jedi. So, do you have any preference you want to advocate for, or?
Not particularly.
Well, I'm kind of over Mass Effect Biotics. So, even though I usually play a Vanguard, I think at this point I just want the biggest gun available.
Yeah, I vaguely recall that Biotics was not super good.
I mean, they're cool, but I definitely never really liked. I mean, hey, you know what? We're just gonna go with default. You don't care. You really can't edit the face that much, and it's not a fantastic character creation system.
Ridiculous Shepherd.
Yes.
Is she a distant descendant of Ridiculous Gown?
I mean, she might just be the same parasite in a new host. But that season is probably never getting posted, so yeah.
Yeah, did we ever figure out what caused all those fires?
I'm just going to take maximum easy mode for this. Casual difficulty, auto level up everyone. Just gonna spend as little time in menus as possible.
Well, what about Shepard? She's a spacer, lived aboard starships most of her life.
Military service runs in the family. Both her parents were in the Navy.
She proved herself during the Blitz, held off enemy forces on the ground until reinforcements arrived.
So it makes sense that they would bring up the military record. But why did they mention where she was from?
Can't question her courage.
Humanity needs a hero. And Shepard's the best.
Well, what about Shepard? She was born in space. Ah, yeah, the last candidate wasn't born in space. That was the problem with him.
It's funny, Mass Effect is probably the best BioWare ever produced. This is the height of BioWare before it got hollowed out by EA.
Yeah, you can make arguments for Mass Effect 2. You know, that's sort of an apples to oranges thing, depending on how much you like world building versus character.
Terrace Prime relays in range. Initiating transmission sequence.
But this is at, or at the very least, very near the high point for sure.
We are connected. Calculating transit mass and destination.
I mean, I'm sure we'll find all kinds of things to nitpick
Relay
about
is
it,
hot.
like we
Acquiring
do.
approach vector.
But, and that is one thing, is that nothing survives line-by-line analysis unscathed, right? There's always something. She seems to bump into a lot of people. Like, she's had to shove her way past like 3 or 4 people, and it's not like this ship is that crowded.
Approach run has begun.
Like, I get that, you know, having her push her way past people helps make it look like she is actually in the set and not merely executing a translate function while, you know, pasted on top of it. But, like, she did a lot. And there weren't really enough people around to justify it.
Thrusters, check. Navigation, check. Internal emissions sync engaged. All systems online. Drift, just under 1500 K.
1500 is good. Your captain will be pleased.
I hate that guy.
Nihilus gave you a compliment, so you hate him.
You remember to zip up your jumpsuit on the way out of the bathroom? That's good. I just jumped us halfway across the galaxy and hit a target the size of a pinhead, so that's incredible. Besides, Spectres are trouble. I don't like having them on board.
So,
Only paranoid.
Joker here,
The council helped fund
the whole
this
Joker
project. They have
Kaiden
a right to send someone to keep an eye on the
conversation,
investment.
like,
Yeah, that is the official.
let's go ahead and get the nice things we have to say about Mass Effect out of the way. I'm gonna go with the boring middle option.
Expect the worst.
Well, bad feelings are not.
But, like, there's immediate character writing here, and, like, I actually like the characters.
What are we doing here?
Joker, status report.
Just cleared the.
Kaden is the standard BioWare male lead.
Right, yeah.
Good. Find a comm buoy and link us into the network.
At the same time, like, he bounces off Joker just fine.
Before we reach Eden Prime.
So, you know, even if ultimately Kaden is basically a red shirt in this conversation, and will remain so for the entire trilogy,
Tell Commander
he does the job of highlighting who Joker is,
You get that, Commander?
and Joker is pretty cool.
I'm on my way.
Is it me or does the captain always sound a little pissed off?
Only when he's talking to you, Joker.
We're getting dragged right along with.
Navigator Presley, confirm that my keyboard is working.
Congratulations, Commander. Looks
Thank
like
you.
we had a smooth run. You heading down to see the captain?
I didn't actually hear you arguing, but I'm going to claim that I
Sounds like you don't
did.
trust Arturian guest.
Sorry, Commander. Just having a chat with Adams down at engineering. I didn't mean to cause any trouble. But you have to admit, something's odd about this mission. The whole crew feels it.
You think
I guess
the
we're
Alliance
exploring this
brass is
dialogue tree.
holding out on us?
If all we're supposed to do is test out the stealth system, why is Captain Anderson in charge? And then there's Nihilus. Spectres are elite operatives, top covert agents. Why send a Spectre? A Turian Spectre?
So one thing they're doing a decent job of avoiding is the whole alien brain parasite thing, where it's like, please explain how the world that I live in works.
Now, of course, Ridiculous Shepard is possessed by an alien brain parasite.
It's true, but apparently she's gotten a lot better at blending in.
Nihilus for that.
And also, like, people seem to be doing a lot more, people don't seem to know that she is a brain parasite and seem to be less willing to explain to her basic conceits of the setting. Whereas in Jade Empire, you know, especially in the starting village, there's a lot of moments where it's like, so, explain martial arts to me.
I'll see if I can get some answers when I see him.
Good luck, Commander.
We have an emperor?
Commander Shepard. I was hoping you'd get here first. It will give us a chance to talk.
What about?
I'm interested in this world we're going to, Eden Prime. I've heard it's quite beautiful.
I've never been there.
But you know of it.
There's also an interesting thing there, which is that you can decide whether or not you've been to Eden Prime or not.
You know, I like how some of the, I like when games let you do stuff like that, like just little pieces of personality, so you're not a plot elemental.
Yeah, like we make the brain parasite joke, but Mass Effect is actually noticeably not like that. You actually feel like you're at home in the setting, and less like you've possessed someone.
Elder Scrolls tends to be bad about the plot elemental. Like, in none of those games do you feel really embedded in the setting, and like, they always try to make it so you're not from the place, like,
right.
the game is set. Like, they make that an explicit detail, usually, which
Morrowind and Skyrim both did it. Oblivion didn't say that you were necessarily from not from around here, but you know you
are completely you have no personality whatsoever.
There must be a reason you didn't tell me about this, sir.
This comes down from the top, Commander. Information strictly on a need-to-know basis.
Bethesda has trouble with either you're the plot elemental or you're what they tried to make you less of a plot elemental in Fallout 4, but they also robbed the player of like the customization of their character. Like they force you to like, okay, you had a spouse and you had a child, and that's sort of your main thing, and you're voice acted. You have a much more narrowly defined personality, and blah blah blah. Whereas Fallout New Vegas allows you to have like feel more like a person. You got to define some of your traits like via conversation, which Dragon Age Inquisition also did. Like, there's this one conversation at one point I had playing a mage with Josephine. It was this minor detail where, like, I just got to choose to drop that my character was a noble before she became part of the circle. But I could have chosen a different thing for her, and it was just this random detail, but I got to have a brief little conversation with Josephine about it, and it made my character feel more like a real person than just like a force of plot that was sweeping over Thetis.
Yeah.
Which New Vegas was also good about that. Bethesda just cannot pull it off. Either you're a plot elemental or you're a specific character that they created.
And I mean, the specific character route is a direction you can go, but it's not something you can mesh with the whole, you know, open world, do whatever you want thing. I do think JRPGs are too closed off. They could stand to open themselves up more than they do. But they definitely shouldn't open themselves up to the point where they're an Elder Scrolls game.
I assume this is good for the Alliance.
Earth needs this ship. We're counting on it.
I need to see your
There's like the thing where like post Morrowind, you can like be head of the Mages Guild and no magic whatsoever.
Yeah.
Just give the word, Captain.
Rumor has it that
What's wrong, Joker?
Transmission from Eden Prime.
the next Elder Scrolls game is going to be in the Redguard country. I don't remember the name of the Redguard country. Hold on.
I think it's Hammerfell?
Yeah, rumor is the next one's going to be in Hammerfell.
Get down.
I was kind of hoping for Elsewhere. Elsewhere sounds cool.
Where?
The Khajiit place, Elsewhere or Elsewhere, or however you pronounce that.
I was making a joke. Because you were hoping it was be elsewhere. It's like, where? It's going to be whole who's on first bit.
But I have killed it, yeah.
The podcast is ruined.
Yeah,
this is our final episode.
Yeah, we'll just cancel it right here. We had a good run. I mean, no, it didn't. But
our viewers going to be very disappointed.
For the first time I played this, I thought this was like some kind of giant hand.
17 minutes out, Captain. No other Alliance ships in the area.
Turned out to be a mecha squid.
Take us in, Joker, fast and quiet. This mission just got a lot more complicated.
A small strike team can move quickly without drawing attention. It's our best chance to secure the beacon.
And also we have like
Grab your gear and meet us
20
in the
people on this ship total. It's not like deploying a battalion was an option.
You're going in.
So it would have been a completely different game from what Mass Effect is, but I do want a video game at some point where you have a Star Destroyer. Where, you know, you just have a giant ship full with tons of troops and tanks and little fighters and bombers and stuff.
Go in heavy and head straight for the dig site.
What about survivors, Captain?
And then, you know, you can just putz around some sector of the galaxy doing whatever.
Approaching drop point 1.
I imagine it would...
I move faster on my own.
Oh, you poor fool.
Nihilus will scout out ahead. He'll feed you status reports throughout the mission. Otherwise, I want radio silence.
There's no way to save him, so I'm going to be suspicious of him. That way, when he dies, inevitably,
Ready and able, sir.
I can sort of subtly play it off as though I wasn't really trying that hard to keep him alive. They've not yet decided whether I'm going Paragon or Renegade, but we need to pick one and commit to it. Which is probably the dumbest thing, is that, like, you know, you can be locked out of dialogue options if you don't have enough points of one or the other. So, like, there's no situation where being Paragon versus Renegade is especially more helpful. But you can be penalized for having nuance. The whole Paragate system is probably the single worst thing about Mass Effect. It is a bizarre holdover from KOTOR.
And Paragon and Renegade map on very lazily to good and evil. There's not really any reason to be... Renegade is also a little bit like you're a sociopath.
Yeah, I mean, they occasionally remember that Renegade is supposed to be, you know, playing by your own rules, not evil. And, you know, whereas Paragon is supposed to be, you know, it's supposed to be a little bit more Superman and Wolverine. But only occasionally do they remember that. Where the hell do I go? Ah, towards the big tall thing, yes. Maybe not. Am I going towards the wrong big tall thing? I might be. I haven't played this game in a while, guys. T, you haven't played for a while either? Like, you can't point us in the right direction?
Not for a long time.
Yeah, that's fair. There's bits and pieces of Eden Prime I can remember, but I certainly do not have the layout memorized. There's a little train fight that's kind of fun. Ah, here we are. I got like 6 guns that I'm carrying, but I can only figure out how to take out one. Hopefully it's the only one I need. And I've also forgotten the controls. Alright, Jenkins. Either you or Kaiden is going to be the sacrificial lamb, and, yep, there it is. Good news, Kaiden, you're immortal. See, this is Nihilus's mistake, is that only one character in a BioWare game will ever die. Not entirely true, but I thought I was doing auto level. But the tradition is that there is only ever one party member in a BioWare game who will die, and that's a sacrificial lamb who dies somewhere on the tutorial stage.
Sometimes Marines die. The rest of us just have to carry on. We still have to find that beacon.
Excuse me. Also, Caden, is this your first day in the Army? Why do I have to explain to you that we can't immediately stop to bury our casualties? Like, that seems like the problem with that would be immediately obvious logistically.
Got some burned out buildings here, Shepard. A lot of bodies. I'm gonna check it out. I'll try to catch up with you at the dig site.
This game's combat is not bad, but that is about the best you can say about it. Of note about the guns, I do like how in Mass Effect 1, you have an overheat system because your guns all run on the Mass Effect.
Yeah, and they got rid of it because why?
Yeah.
There's no good reason. Convenient that we're about to find a second squad member just right here. Oh hey, it's the Geth. So do we want to talk about the Geth for a moment?
I take it you have something to say about them?
I do.
Please take it away.
So you remember the concept of the abject other?
We have talked about it before, but it's the first episode of a new season, so why don't you give us a quick summary?
The abject other, essentially it's something that's so dehumanized and otherized that you can kill it with impunity. We talked about it with the Dark Ones, the orcs. Zombies are abject others, and robots are abject others a lot. Now, the Geth in this game will mostly stay in that position. They're just sort of robots that you can kill with impunity. In the second game, you will get a Geth companion, and there'll be some interesting discussion of like Geth consciousness and how like an individual Geth body is not really a consciousness on its own, which I really liked. Like, really reminds me, and we're gonna. In one of the later planets, there's going to be a very direct reference to Ender's Game. But even with the Geth, there's because the buggers in Ender's Game, and this is spoilers for Ender's Game, but that's
Spoilers
been
for a book released like 40 years ago.
Yeah. What you find, it's really the Orchestra card really kind of examines and pulls apart the idea of the abject other. What you find out with the buggers is they are a hive mind, and the reason they attacked humans and were killing humans is because the buggers, the way their consciousness is, it's entirely invested in the queens. The sort of drones don't really have any consciousness or sapience, so a drone dies, it doesn't really mean anything, and the buggers assumed that humanity was the same way, that they could kill and dissect a random human and it wouldn't matter because it's not a queen human. The Ender's Game series, this is really fascinating sort of examination of the other and dehumanization, and the fact that Orson Scott Card is an extreme right-wing Republican will never stop being shocking to me. Like,
yeah, that was a bizarre twist.
Like, he's so concerned with the concept of the other and the damage it can do, and like understanding consciousness that is completely different from human consciousness. Like, you think it was written by this person with a deep empathy for the other, and then it's like he writes an essay about how horrible gay marriage is.
Yeah, it's not like he's a capitalist sort of Republican who, just sort of goes along with the white supremacy because it's there. In fairness, I don't actually know if he's done anything racist or written anything racist. But
he had this one essay about Obama releasing inner city gangs.
Yeah.
I
mean, I'm not surprised, but I was only aware of the homophobia.
Even the specific homophobia is really bizarre, because he wrote this book in the 70s called Songmaster about that seemed very pro-gay, and it wasn't like till decades later that he comes out with the hypocrites of homosexuality saying, people keep interpreting this as being pro-gay, and it's not, and I'm tired of it.
If they were lucky. Maybe hiding up in the camp. It's just on the top of this ridge, up the ramps.
But yeah, it is really strange that, you know, he seems to express such sympathy and empathy for the idea of an other, of, you know, of how a misunderstanding between people who do not live the same way causes a pointless war in which both sides are victimized. And yet...
It's a good place for an ambush. Keep your guard.
Yes, I do like the idea of a robotic hive mind where, you know, individual bodies do not hold an individual consciousness, but are rather appendages. That was probably a good use of a grenade. It's not going off, though. Do I have to push another button to detonate the grenade? So we examine these husks here. You'll notice that the skin appears to have been heavily altered. It is either rotting or entirely replaced. There appear to be some significant cables going on, implants all over the place. What part of the human body are they using here?
This is very Geiger-esque.
Seems like it would have been a lot more efficient to just build another Geth out of the parts you use to make a husk. Like, I'm not sure what the, like, logistically, what you're saving on by recycling a human body. Oh wow, this is actually a fairly tricky one to start off with. And by fairly tricky, I mean, you know, I wasn't able to sleep through it. Which, you know, you would expect for the very first one, it would be like, yeah, here is a dead simple one while you figure out the controls, but...
This gets into the whole issue with how do you abstract hacking into a way that's interesting to play.
I think this one is good. I like this hacking minigame. It's quick, it's reasonably fun, and, you know, it's a weird abstract thing that doesn't feel like anything, so therefore may as well feel like hacking.
They gave their lives to save us.
No one is saved. The age of humanity is ended.
And you know, the problem with hacking is that ultimately the way that you hack a system is by understanding it better than the people who designed it. We're not going to bother with any of that. I already know the plot.
Nobody can stop it. Night is falling. The darkness of eternity.
Hush, Manuel. Go lie down. You'll feel better once the medication kicks in.
Okay, 1 second. Do you have any random junk that I can feed into that wood chipper that produces Omnigel from random objects? I can't remember where I came from. I hope it's not here. Oh, I got a cutscene. That's a good sign. On the subject of Legion, one tradition from Star Trek that Mass Effect picked up that I think is fun is the tendency that whoever the main villain of the previous show is becomes part of the bridge crew of the next show. So like in the original series, the big bads, the ones who are most reliably the big bads on any given episode are the Klingons, and in the Next Generation we have a Klingon bridge officer. The Next Generation gives us both the Ferengi and the Borg, and then its two sequels. You know, DS9 came first and Voyager was after, but I feel like they're both pretty clearly spinning off the success of TNG. And they bring us a Ferengi. I mean, okay, it's not bridge crew. There's no bridge on the DS9, but a Ferengi main cast member in the Federation, and then later a Borg bridge officer in Voyager.
And even in the very first series, people forget how big a deal it was to have a Russian crew member and a Japanese crew member.
Yeah, it's true.
Something's moving over behind those crates.
Wait, don't shoot. I'm one of you. I'm human.
Like,
What are you doing sneaking around back there?
Russian does not register that much anymore, but like, Russia was the enemy of the United States at the time. It was a pretty big deal.
Shot him.
I need to know how Nihilus died.
The other one got here first. He was waiting when your friend showed up. He called him Saren. I think they knew each other. Your friend seemed to relax. He let his guard down. But Saren killed him. Shot him right.
Saren and Nihilus' conversation reveals a lot about them, but without ever feeling like they are announcing their backstory and existing relationship to the camera. It really is some actually good writing. Like, we don't see a whole lot of that very often. But even in earlier games, like Knights of the Old Republic is decent, but Mass Effect is a lot better.
How come you're the only one who survived? Why didn't anyone else try to hide behind the crates?
They never had a chance. I was already behind the crates when the attack started.
Wait a minute. You were hiding behind the crates before the attack?
Sometimes I need a nap to get through my shift. I sneak off behind the crates to grab 40 winks where the supervisor can't find me.
You survived because you're lazy?
Ashley, fire.
After that nap, we'd probably be dead just like all the others.
Yeah, I guess.
It's funny, I think that's supposed to be like the Paragon choice, but it's basically just dousing this guy in as much survivor's guilt as I can muster up.
Take the cargo train. That's where the other Turian went. I can't stay here. I need to get away from all this.
Where exactly do you plan on going? We are in a war zone. Alright, so that is the one and only time I've ordered my squad to attack anyone. There's a problem in games like this, where, you know, you have squad mates and they want to give you the option to direct your squad mates, which is that in order to pick a target for your squad mates, you have to hover your mouse over the target and press a button in order to mark the target. But at that point, why not just press the button that fires your gun instead? The command interface, where you have a sort of a real-time with pause thing where you can press spacebar to bring up specific attacks and commands for your party members, works better because it lets you do things, you know, rather than just generically say, oh, attack them, which, you know, again, you've already lined up a shot at that point, you may as well attack them yourself. I'm sure Caden will be fine. But yeah, with the spacebar menu, you can actually order them to use specific abilities. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing wrong with grenades, but I really need them to actually explode things. You know, it's funny, shooter fans apparently got really sick of these whole shooting gallery things. But, I don't play shooters very often at all. Which means that Mass Effect is, like, my only interaction with these kinds of shooting gallery style gameplay. And, you know, apparently Mass Effect isn't even very good at it, which I totally believe, because, you know, this was RPG devs adding a little bit of third-person cover shooting into their game, so I'm not surprised they weren't especially good at it. But I actually find it kind of charming, you know? It's not very complex, but it looks kind of realistic, and it's not like I came to an RPG looking for combat.
I don't think I've ever played a true shooter. Like, Mass Effect is the closest to a shooter I've ever played.
I mean, I played Left 4 Dead, the Borderlands games, both Left 4 Dead.
Hurry! We need to find them all and shut them down.
Wait, did I just walk right past one? I did. Okay. Left control is not a very convenient place to have the uncrouch button be hiding.
You know who the Geth actually kind of remind me of?
The Borg?
Therum. Because they're ruthless killers.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Ferrum is like the real murder hobo of that party. Oh god, where did you guys come from? Please die. Ashley, Kaiden, I need you guys to be human shields for me.
So, viewer, I finally convinced Chamomile to let me in, into one of his games. He made me promise not to instigate any love triangles. He did not notice that I was crossing my fingers when I made that promise, but... and in that game, I am playing a ruthless, evil robot. A killbot, basically. Isn't that right, Chamomile?
In the same way that Selwyn was a lawful good ruler and Shane was a mummy, yes.
Who is this Shane you're talking about?
Sorry.
You mean Zeke?
Yeah. But, you know, Zeke and Shane are essentially the same character because I'm out of Judge Hoot Hoot's jurisdiction. Bastard can't stop me now.
How dare you?
Also, I legitimately got those names confused. I haven't actually done anything with Zeke in a while. I've been editing Shane's book. Plus, I just got to the part where, like, he's finally going into full Zeke mode. I don't want to give anything away. That book isn't even out yet, so, you know, now would be a terrible time to have spoilers. But, brief celebratory aside, though, like, it's gotten to the end of the latest draft, and I really like it. Ah, here's the beacon. Ah, it's the thing that's shooting light up into the air. That makes sense, because it's a beacon.
The moment we're back on Earth, I'm telling Judge Hoot Hoot about this.
I mean, if we get back to Earth, and if we end up back in Arkansas.
It wasn't doing anything like that when they...
I'm going to tell Mother Sorrow about this.
Something must have
You'd have to find her first. I don't know where she went. I know she was with us in the tractor beam, but I haven't seen her since.
Also, I was thinking, like, what do I call Chamomile now that he's married to Mother Sorrow? Is he Mr. Sorrow? Is he Father Sorrow? Is he Daddy Sorrow?
Never really liked Daddy as a term.
No, don't touch her. It's too dangerous.
I mean, except as a term of affection from a literal child. I mean, especially weird that, like, you know, Daddy seems to have been, like, has to have, like, leaked even outside of... Firstly, you know, it's leaked outside of the specific Daddy Dom little girl dynamic type and become, like, just a generic BDSM thing. And then it seems to have leaked out of BDSM to just become a generic term of affection. Which, like, how did this happen?
It was under the command of Captain Anderson. They managed to save the colony.
And the beacon.
One of the humans may have used it.
The only time I have liked that term is when someone described their political views to me as "tax me harder, daddy."
This human must be eliminated.
Like that scene was supposed to be very like sinister, but the lighting, like you can see her face and then her boobs.
Yeah, Mass Effect has, you know, especially Mass Effect 2 has a lot of male gaze problems. You know, Mass Effect 2 co-starring Miranda's ass.
It reminds me of the opening of the 3rd Transformers movie, where you meet Shia LaBeouf's love interest, and you're introduced, like, the very first thing you see then, like, it lingers on, like, you don't even see her face first, you see her butt first, and it just lingers on her butt. The camera is assumed to be, is basically looks at the world like a heterosexual man, is what you get with the male gaze. The viewer is assumed to be male, and the camera looks at the world as if it was a heterosexual man. A kind of interesting reversal of this actually comes in The Silence of the Lambs, where there are these scenes where we see the world from, like, what's the name of the detective in The Silence of the Lambs? Clarice. We see the world from Clarice's perspective. Rather than the camera leering at Clarice, we see the men leering at her, which is a really interesting reversal of the male gaze. So we constantly see the ugliness of all these men leering at her. But Mass Effect has a major male gaze problem.
And its cinematography isn't great either. Like, that's also part of the problem. Like, the lighting was shit, which was a problem. But then also, the only part that was visible in the lighting was her face in her boob window.
Aye, aye, Captain. I'll be in the mess if you need me.
The writing is good, but the camera needs a lot of work.
Sounds like that beacon hit you pretty hard, Commander. You sure
Right, like, you know, if you had just looked at the script for that scene, you would not have seen any of the problems. Unless they actually wrote into the script, you know, I forget the Asari's name, but, you know, they actually write into the script, you know, character enters with a rockin' pair.
Absolutely slamming.
Did we leave Gunnery Chief Williams back on Eden Prime?
I figured we could use a soldier like her. She's been reassigned to the Normandy.
Fantastic. I'm sure she's not space racist at all.
She deserves it.
Blanco agrees with you.
She hasn't shown any signs of space racism. I don't even know why I brought it up, honestly.
You said you needed to see me in private, Captain?
I won't lie, Michelle. Things look bad. Nihilus is dead. The beacon was destroyed and Geth are invading. The Council's going to want answers.
So do we know who we're going to romance? We only have 2 choices.
Captain. Hopefully the Council can see that.
Yeah, and I mean, one of them is Bland, and the other one is, like, the space elf?
Saren's a specter, one of the best, a living legend. But if he's working
Honestly, none of the romance scenes seem particularly... There's not a whole lot of chemistry between any of these characters.
Saren's dangerous, and he hates humans.
Why?
He thinks we're growing too fast, taking over the galaxy. A lot of aliens think that way. Most of them don't do anything about it. But Saren has allied himself.
See,
I don't know how.
the thing is, Tally is best girl.
Something to do with that beacon.
And she's not romanceable in this game. She will be romanceable in 2, but she is not romanceable in this one.
Any clue that might tell us what Saren was after?
Just before I lost consciousness, I had some kind of vision.
I mean, Tali is definitely
A vision of what?
the most compelling of, at least...
Best girl.
Yeah. Of at least the female characters, female companions in this game. How am I supposed to know which of these is... Like, the vision was actually very vague. I'm gonna call it a warning, just on account of I already know the plot, but...
We need to report this to the council.
What are we gonna tell them? I had a bad dream?
We don't know what information was stored in that beacon. Lost Prothean technology, blueprints for some ancient weapon of mass destruction.
Yeah, Garrison...
Saren took
the Krogan, I forget which one we have in this game. Is that Rex? Or is Rex in the other
Rex,
one?
yeah.
Okay. Rex is this one. Grunt comes later.
He has the secrets from the beacon. He has an army of Geth at his command.
All Krogan look alike to me.
He's wiped humanity from the face of the galaxy.
I mean, I joke, but I honestly don't think the Mass Effect team did a great job differentiating Krogan models from each other.
I'll find some way to take him down.
It's not that easy. He's a specter. He can go anywhere, do almost anything.
Okay, but is he bulletproof?
On our side.
We prove Saren's gone rogue and the council will revoke his Spectre status.
I'll contact the ambassador and see if he can get us an order.
So there's a concept in a lot of BioWare RPGs, and it's a good concept for a game, which is that there is a certain class of people, you know, a certain profession, that is basically professional adventurer, you know, empowered to just go around finding problems and solving them with violence if necessary. You know, you get like Jedi in the Baldur's Gate games and stuff, just literal adventurer. Grey Warden, that's the one I was looking for from Dragon Age. Here in Mass Effect, you kind of run into the problem of, like, this is an advanced society, and we are being inducted into, you know, an organization that answers, not even an organization, just a class of people that answers to basically no one, and is empowered to solve problems with lethal violence pretty much at will. Like, why does the council have specters? This actually seems like a bad idea.